Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining today while the webinar dedicated to diabetes camps. I'm going to introduce today's speaker. Her name is Cristina Petruz. A few of you, especially from the European region, know her already. Also, she was supposed to be one of our speakers at Abu Dhabi, but unfortunately, because we were running late on many sessions, she couldn't make her presentation. So that's why today we are dedicating this webinar to her. So Cristina, as all of you, she has type 1 diabetes for the last 16 years. Also, as all of you, she was a member of the YLD program between the years 2013 and 2015, so not that long ago. Her education is a clinical psychologist and a psychotherapist, and she's also a member of the IDF Europe since 3 years ago. Also, she acts as the Vice President of the Romanian Federation of Diabetes Association, and she is in the organizing committee of the Young Leaders Camp 2016-2018, and she has also organized Dia Euro 2015-2017. Sorry. So the way it will work, Cristina will make her presentation. If you have any questions during the presentation, please write it on the chat, and at the end we will have a Q&A session, and Cristina will reply to all your questions. So I'm just giving Cristina the word. Thanks a lot, Cristina, for joining us today.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, yes. So awesome. First of all, thank you very much, Beatrice, for the presentation, and hello, everyone. Unfortunately, I didn't have the chance to say hello to everyone, but being in Abu Dhabi, it's nice to see, though, that there's so many people familiar, which I've met during the YLD and also during other diabetes activities across Europe. So the presentation today will be indeed about youth leadership camps, and I will try to focus a bit from my experience with the IDF Europe Youth Leadership Camp. There are, as you know, and I'm sure that most of you have a lot of experience in organizing diabetes camps. I would like to focus on this youth leadership camp because this is a great opportunity of creating new leaders in order to be more involved in diabetes activities across the world. Can you go to the next slide, please? In the meantime, that was a photo with the attendees from the camp in 2016 in Cyprus. So now, going further on why it's important to have a leadership camp. Well, because this is a very proper environment for creating valuable ideas for improving the life of people with diabetes. Even if we talk about presentation we have during the camp or talking to each other or so, it's a proper environment to create very, very valuable idea, and I can tell this from experience. There's also a good opportunity to find solutions for different national problems and ways of implementation. Thinking about the fact that you can have a leadership camp which is having participants from different regions, from different countries, then you might know for sure from your experience that there are different problems in different countries and inside the countries in between regions. So this is how by talking and brainstorming you can find a solution for problems of other participants and maybe trying to give some solutions for improvement and so. There's also an opportunity for creating a strong community and a common voice. We all know when we fight for diabetes, for our cause, that it's quite difficult to be able to send a message on your own and to be as heard as it would be with a group people saying the same thing. So basically, it's very important to have this community who shares the same values and commitment and mission in order to have a stronger voice and message. Also, there is a proper environment for collaboration between regions or countries. As I said before, if we are thinking about regional or let's say in this case European or other regions camp, that would help create maybe some very beautiful projects between countries so that people can support each other according to their experience and yeah. Then, of course, that being a camp, there's a leadership camp, and we try to train some skills through activities and sessions and so on. Basically, what I was thinking, like looking at our European camp, is that the skills that we try to enhance are the leadership one, which is actually the training of the skill of motivating other people, of conducting other people in order to share ideas and get more involved in diabetes activities. Then there is a communication. As you know, it's very important to be able to deliver a proper message in order to be heard and understood in a proper way. So this is why we try to train these skills also. And of course, the project management, the fundraising, which is I think that is the core thing about that camp, but also any other project we might have funding. Advocacy lobby and interaction and so on. Okay, go for the next one, please. Okay, so as for sure you might already know, as you have a lot of experience with organizing events related to diabetes, maybe also diabetes camps. There are a few steps to take when organizing a leadership camp. First, you need to plan it as to have some objectives. What do you want to? So basically, what do you want to achieve? The topics is like is the tool you're using in order to achieve your objectives. Then the target group, the budget, which is very important, and the deadlines in order to be able, like at the end, to implement the project. Also, as advice, we should all be careful to details, to materials we might need, for example, like maybe T-shirts, just giving an example. Also about the location, the time, and the volunteers, and I'll go through some of these a bit later in my presentation. Then it's important to write the project, a detailed one, and maybe also a short presentation for the sponsors, because most of the time if we have face-to-face meetings, it's hard for them to go through a long and detailed presentation. And then, of course, to fundraise the project, which means to present it to sponsors in time. This meaning, as you probably already know, if we go for pharma companies, and not necessarily only pharma companies, the main problem is that they set their budgets in the first trimester of the year. So if we go later, we might have problems in obtaining any fundraising. And also, as from personal experience, we might have in mind all the stakeholders that might be interested in supporting a leadership camp. And this is also in any other project you might do. To see, like, for example, when I had Euro, the European Football Championship for people with diabetes, I was going for those who sell sport outfit, for example, just because they might be interested in sponsoring a sports event and so on. And then at the end, the beautiful end is to implement the project, just to have the youth leadership camp, and also to be aware of the unpredictable. So something I've learned from experience, and maybe so did you, and I think it's very important to have this in mind from the beginning, that there are unpredictable situations that might happen, not being able to keep the schedule, for example, or some attendee cannot come, or something happens, whatever. You need to be careful of this and to have like the a chance, or I'm finding the word. So just to have it in mind in order to be able to find a quick solution. And last but not least, and very important, that no matter if it's a leadership camp and you're very much involved in everything, just have a bit of fun. Okay, so go for the next one, please. Okay, so now I'm going to go through some, let's say, practical aspects of organizing the youth leadership camp. Well, first, if we talk about the location, it's very important to have a proper space according to the number of participants. So if you have like 25 or 30 people, then you should have enough space in order to have all your activities, like coding activities, workshops, and so on inside the facility. For example, with the Youth Leadership Camp of IDF Europe, we have about 24 participants from many countries. So then we need to find the location and also to settle the location in time, because there may be a lot of other activities that might go on in that location. So just have this in mind. And also to have it equipped so everything is needed for the workshop. And another important thing, given the fact that the leadership camp and a lot of sessions that the participant must attend, what we need to have a lot of physical activities and exercises and so on. And this is very important for refreshment of your mind, to have a bit of fun maybe, to promote physical activities for people with diabetes, but also to train those skills of teamwork. So this is going to be very careful to have inside and outside facilities for sports and other activities, because you need to take into consideration the variable of weather, let's say, and if it's too rainy or it's too hot, you need to go in an inside facility. So be aware of that. Okay, next please. Okay, so another important thing to do is to set the participants. So for a leadership camp, having in mind the fact that what you want to do is to train people that might get involved in that activities, that might come with new ideas and solutions and so on, as discussed at the beginning, it's very important maybe to send a call for applications. So in order to be able to see like the added value they are bringing to the group, and to be according with your ideas and perspectives. So what we do, for example, in IDF Europe, we are sending the applications to the member association in our case of IDF Europe, and there is like a form that we need to complete. What we're looking for is like to be in the same range of age, meaning that you cannot have someone who is 18 years old with someone who is 40, with all due respect to all ages, so it's not this, but the thing is that you need to prepare a speech, let's say, communication. So there are different communication channels that you need to use according to age and so. So what we do, for example, we have people in between 18 and 30, no, 28, I think, if I'm not wrong, or so, whatever. And then it's important to see that they have the same passion for diabetes and for creating this better world for people living with diabetes. But also it's important to have like different interests and profession and different backgrounds, because this is very helpful when you see the end of the camp, that you have people that like to help and get involved in different areas. So, for example, in our camps, we had, of course, we had doctors, nurses, educators, we had lawyers, engineers, and so on. And this is very helpful because they can really help in those particular areas that are very good at. Okay, thank you. Next one, please. Okay. Another thing you need to set is the staff. So be sure that you have enough volunteers that might help you, because when trying to organize such a leadership camp, there are a lot of details you need to take into consideration. So from my point of view, if there are more volunteers, it's better. And then, of course, given the fact that it's a diabetes camp with people living with diabetes, it's very important to have medical care. So having with you a doctor is quite important, because what we do, for example, in the camp is to go, let's say, for a trip or to have this exercise I was telling you about. Then, of course, it's important to have a doctor with us. And I'm very, I'm always smiling when I see the pictures from the right of the screen. So the lady who is carrying out another person, she's a doctor, she's from Cyprus, and she's like, we were all making fun of the fact that she's so much involved, she was so much involved with this camp that she was actually carrying on another person living with diabetes, so she was an attendee there, so it was very funny. Okay, and of course you need to take into consideration that all these sessions must be held by trainers or speakers or people who have enough experience in order to share. So we need to talk with them in time in order to be available for the camp. It's not very important to have, let's say, 20 speakers or to have a speaker for every topic you might have during the camp. So that's not the most important thing. But to have enough and people who might give added value, let's say, to training these leadership skills. Okay, next one, please. Here's a list with a few examples of topics we were debating during our session. So first it was the presentation skills. It's like how to introduce yourself. This is a game we play at the beginning of the camp about, it's called elevator pitch. Maybe some of you are aware of this exercise. And it's an exercise where we try to introduce ourselves in like less than 30 seconds, just in order to get the attention of a possible stakeholder. But of course, there are also other exercises and a more broad topic about it. We also have sessions about communication skills, leadership, working with partners, mobilizing youth, which is quite a challenge, project management, fundraising, advocacy, social media and online platforms, and inspirational lectures. This video inspirational lecture is something that we have every year, and basically we ask a person who is true inspiration through the ways dealing life with diabetes, projects that he's been involved or carried out, and so on. And they come just to share his or her experience with diabetes that might really help the participants, like a bump of motivation, let's say so. Okay, next one, please. Okay. So, as a rule, with all these topics, for example, during our camp, what we do is to have like, let's say, 20-30 minutes of theoretical session, and then we go with workshops. Actually, this is where magic happens, let's say. This is the proper opportunity to share your ideas, to see different perspectives, to create projects and so. And actually it's also a very good method because you are making sure of the fact that they understand the theoretical information we just gave them before. So that's a proper way of practicing this skills information, let's say so. Also, we do a lot of team building activities, which can go, like, let's say, from the beginning, small exercises, or most important, I think, during the physical activities, exercises. Then there is also a good way of having a team building exercise. Good. Then we have the youth presentations. This is something that we do in order to allow every participant to share their personal experience with projects and life and so on. So having a European leadership camp is very beautiful to see when there are participants who have like 15 minutes or so to present themselves, and they bring also with them the traditions from their own countries. They're bringing food, or they're dressed up in the national outfit or so. And it's quite impressive, and also it's important because the other participants have the chance to find out more about the situation of diabetes in other countries. We also have a workshop, the Taboo Forum, which is, I think it's very successful exercise, meaning that as people living with diabetes, maybe we have a lot of questions sometimes during our development and maybe there are some questions that we don't want to share with our healthcare providers or other people living with diabetes or whatever, because this sometimes happens. So what we do is from the beginning of the week, because I had mentioned that our camp is for 6 days. So what we do from the beginning is that we set the rule of the Taboo Forum. We have a box where participants can put their anonymous questions, and about at the end of the camp, we take that box and we see question by question, and we try to answer them as best as we can. So in this situation, there are people who say that, okay, this was my question, and then we can build on it, or otherwise they can remain anonymous, and we just continue trying to give the best answer we can. So basically, in here we have questions about alcohol and diabetes, going out, sex and diabetes, and a lot of stuff in this particular area. Then there is another thing that we intended to implement actually every year, but we couldn't. So this is the unpredictable thing that always happens. It's like that we decided to have a movie night where to present, let's say, 1 hour movie, and afterwards to be able to talk about it and to see what we've learned from it. So this is how we try to learn how to analyze information in order to be in our best interest and in like an example of development of skills. So we weren't able to do it neither in 2016 or 17, but we hope for this year to be able to see that movie and see how it goes. But I think it's also a good exercise. And then, of course, the sharing of personal experiences, which happens during the presentation, even during the theoretical presentations, because people bump in and build on that idea and trying to make it particular for their situation, which is also very good exercise, because we might have that aha moment, you know, when we say, this might work for my experience, and then asking for opinions. Okay, next one, please. Yeah, here are some the workshop results from 2017. So here is on the board. during our workshop, there were some exercises and people were working very hard on them with drawings and so on. What we had for this couple of years, we tried to implement a lot of World Diabetes Day activities. Then we had Euromove challenge. We think that Uroš might be able to share more with you about it because he was very much involved in it. Then the webinars, and I've seen that also Veronica is here, so she was also very much involved in the webinars, and this is a great opportunity to be able to reach people with diabetes, even if they're from your city or country or other nations. It doesn't matter. It's an amazing way of being able to connect with other people. So up until now, we had a few webinars with the rights of people with diabetes, burnout and depression, also about working rights, holidays and diabetes, and so on. And the list will continue and so on. Then there was created from the YLC, the EURA, which is an online platform, reuniting all the previous attendees from the camp. Travelers and Rebecca might tell you more about it, and other great projects. I'm sharing with you these names because I know that they're involved in the YLD, so you can reach them out so they can give you more explanations about the project. Okay, next one, please. So here are only some pictures with the physical activities we've done and the exercises and fun parts, let's say. We really much like to have short trips, and so here you can see probably most of you know Kyle. He's also a colleague from IDF Europe. He's from France, and he's the one, together with Irina, in charge for all the physical activities and fun and so. And here in the right picture, you can see we've been into the salt mine. Last year organized camp in Romania, and we had a flash mob, which was pretty good and nice. And actually the salt mine, the organizers from there, they transmitted online, and we had more than 10,000 viewers of our diabetes flash mob, so it was quite fun and interesting to see. Okay, next one, please. Okay, now I'll go a bit further for this communication thing. It's like mostly the promotion and social media and so, which should be done before, during, and after the leadership camp or any other event you might have. And it's very important to communicate to the sponsors, to the community, and to your member association and all those who are supporting you, because they need to know your objectives, your results, and also a thank you very good. Because when there are sponsors who are trying to sponsor this leadership camp, maybe they would like to be very much involved in the other projects, and if you're thinking in having a youth leadership camp at every year. So, and if you show gratitude to the sponsors, then it's important. And also another valuable tool to use is the feedback from your participants. So basically, that's also a good exercise for you and for the participants, because from their leadership training, they need to know how to give a proper feedback back. So that it could be something that the others could learn from. So if you train them, let's say at the end of the camp, you give them a feedback and talk about it. This might be very useful for both sides, for them because they're practicing a skill, and then for you because there are things that you might learn and do different for the next editions, or continue with the same one if you have a positive feedback. Okay, next one, please. Okay, now the challenge, we will show you a short video with few pictures of what was YLC 2017. If it's working. So here you can see no activity and profit. So and for explain all the activities and they will be as a useful. No, we had a very nice call and very interesting watching the video, but go back to the video. As flash mob. And the preparations about which. Okay, thank you. Can you go with the next slide, please? So these were some thoughts from the previous participants at the camp. So, for example, it's like diabetes is like a roller coaster. It has its ups and downs, but it's your choice to scream or enjoy the ride. Okay, and for smile, can we have the next one, please? Okay. So you have to be the change you want to see in the world, or everyone is fighting a battle you know nothing about, so be kind always. And we are created to create and change the world around us. Nice. Okay, next one, please. And at the end, I would like to share you my thoughts. It's like diabetes has chosen us without asking, but we've been chosen to make something good out of it. So within all your projects, activities, and hard work for improving the life of people with diabetes, remember to have fun, enjoy every single moment, and don't forget that any struggle and hard time is the proper opportunity to train or form a new set of abilities that might help you at some point in your life. Okay? That was my idea, my thought, and I really wanted to share it with you, and I believe in it. And like a friend of mine always says that I really love this motto, like everything is going to be okay at the end, and if it's not okay, it means that it's not the end. Okay, so can we have the next one, please? This is where we go to thank you, and I hope that it was useful for you to see this presentation. Also, if you might have any questions in the near future or further future, whatever, please feel free to contact me anytime. You can contact me on Facebook or email or whatever you want. I'm happy to help if I can, or just to listen, or I don't know, just for the brainstorming if you want. So thank you very much, and now I'm happy to see to respond to your questions if you have any.
Okay, so thanks a lot, Christina, for sharing your expertise in diabetes camps. It was very interesting. So I'm switching the chat, and I see that one question from Matthias, I'm trying to see if I can pass the word to him. Yeah, okay, so Matthias, I'm unmuting you so you can ask directly your question to Christina. Matthias? Okay, it looks like maybe he does not have a microphone, so I'm going to mute him again and I will read the question to you. So basically, Matthias asking what is the best way to mix people, to mix the groups in the diabetes camps. He's asking if it's better to do it by age, by time of diagnosis, or if there is any other criteria that you can think about.
Okay, so if we think on how we elect the participants, what we do, for example, is to try to have a equilibrium between gender. So we have, for example, 24 participants, then we have 12 girls and 12 men. This is the ideal thing to do, but anyway, it's very important to try and take this into consideration, like giving the opportunity to both the genders to improve the leadership skills. Then about the age, it's also important. It's like, for example, when you have the qualifications, you say that people who can join the camp would be those from the age of 18 to 30. So you don't have so much to decide on, just at the beginning and set the rule of the age. And the time of diagnosis, actually, this is something that we never took into consideration because it would be very important both for those who have diabetes for a long time and who are newly diagnosed to be able to attend this kind of camp. Because if we think further to this camp, basically we go on the fact that those who are sending the applications are those who are motivated to do a lot of things for diabetes. So that's not important. That's okay. Okay.
Yeah. Matthias is saying okay. Thank you. So,
yeah.
So that's it. So I do not see any other question in the chat. So if any of you, wait, Diana from Mexico is writing a message. Just a second. So she's asking which are, wait a second.
Okay, are the camps for people from 18 to 30? This is, this is Bruno's question. Okay, so first to ask about, to respond about the age. Okay, no. I think is that it's very important to have it in mind, what do you want to achieve. So in my presentation, I had a youth camp, but it can be also for other ages. It doesn't matter. So maybe if you have people 30 to 45, let's say, who want to become leaders in diabetes and want to get involved in all kind of diabetes activities, go there. That's okay. But it's important not to mix, let's say, in the group people with from 18 years to someone with 45 years old, because it might be difficult to have the same activities. So that was the idea. Indeed, in the European Youth Camp, we have people from 18 to 30. Does it answer the question? Okay.
Now, Diana? Yeah.
Okay, in other stage, which enterprise? Well, if we, let me see if I understand correctly. So you mean like, would be other stakeholders interested in leadership camps other than pharma companies? Yes. Well, this depends a lot on your country. So basically, they might be. We can go, for example, with those who have sports products. let's say so. I'm just thinking about other situations. There are also a lot of, for example, in Romania, okay, you have foundations that are willing to sponsor this kind of plan, or there are also European projects, in this case from European funds, that are willing to support a leadership camp or activity, and so basically what is proper to do is before sending an application for sponsorship, you just need to see which would be the proper stakeholders that might help you. So this is why I'm saying that it depends a lot on the countries. Does it help anyway?
Okay, so Diana says that it's clearer now. I got a new question from Sanik. She asked if there have been one-on-one counseling sessions in the camps that you have organized. And she's also asking if the camps include people with type 1 and type 2 in the same camp. She's saying that she actually has experiences where both types of people were there, and that people with type 1 sometimes feel that people with type 2 do not know their battle.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks for the question. So going with the first one, if there is any counseling one-on-one, well, it is. It's not like a set environment, let's say. So it's like we are thinking that every participant would have a counseling, but there are a lot of people who want to come and talk individually with us. So either that is counseling like on a psychosocial aspect or regarding any projects or so. Usually they come and ask us questions. So then, yes, we take them one-on-one. But otherwise, not like we have a proper setting for this. Okay, but of course you can do it. It's also very much okay to have this kind of things, and I'm taking the opportunity to say that what I was just to have like what would you like to do, like in this case you can do it. You can try whatever, but whenever you have an idea, just try and go 3 steps forward and see how you get it. And would it work? It work with a group of 24 people or so, or if not, then what would you do otherwise? And also about mixing type 1 with type 2, well, this is a very, very much debated topic. Not only, as you know, even if it's called diabetes, both type 1 and type 2, there are a lot of different things. So there are differences between the pathology, the way body reacts, and how we give the information actually to those with type 1 diabetes and type 2. So this is why I would say that for a leadership camp, it might not be so functional to have both type 1s and type 2, because this is how you will have a lot of debate going on about the fact that you have to do this, no, you have to do all the other way around, and so because every participant comes with their own experience, and once the experience is so much different from a treatment point of view, let's say so, and the information they get from the healthcare providers, that's very difficult to have productive discussions. But what they're trying to do would be to convince the other group or the other person that it's not like they say, but how they know. So if you want to do this leadership camps, both for type 1 and 2, do it differently. Let's say one camp with type 1, one camp with type 2. This is my personal experience, and this would be my advice, but it might go different in your country, for example, or depending on your activity. If you usually merge these 2 groups, then maybe you found a solution that might help you work. But we never do so. So, for example, in this IDF Europe leadership camps, we don't do it so much. Of course, there are situations when there are young people with type 2 diabetes and so. But they're like in a verge of between type 1 and type 2 and so on, which is okay. Actually, I think we're also biased of the fact that we think that those with type 2 diabetes are the elder people. You know, so maybe you can find a balance if there's a young person in between the ages you set for your camp that is younger, then you might think of introducing him in or her in some way. Does it help?
Yes, so Sanik has replied that yeah, it's okay, and she has another question. She asks if in the camps that you have organized, if the participants can have medical tests, so for example the HbA1c examinations, food, kidney examinations, and also she's asking if in general you do medical checkups with people.
No. So normally in our camps we don't do this. We do have, as I said before, we do have a medical doctor in there if they need anything. They can talk on a personal level about, let's say, treatment if they want. But normally we don't do this because each person has like a medical history or so. So giving trying to give any suggestions or solutions or so without knowing the background, it might be difficult to do. So if a doctor is not the doctor of that person asking the question, there might be some variables that they cannot take into consideration. But anyhow, we don't do any medical checkup or so. But as a suggestion, you could, for example, if the local members association would want to provide this thing, they can do it. But here, for example, at these leadership camps, we don't even talk about treatment or life with diabetes or none the like. Okay, so we just talk about practicing leadership skills, and not so much on personal treatment and medication and so on. Okay?
Yes, so there are no more questions for the moment. Wait, another comment from Sanik. Sanik is saying, I think she's from San Lucia, if I remember correctly. She's from NAC. So she's saying that in her country, yeah, San Lucia. So in her country, some of the kids cannot afford to have regular checkups. Yeah, that's the thing. So she says that that is something that she would like to try when she organizes her camps. So do you think that would be a good idea?
Well, yes, it might be a good idea, especially for the fact that they might have difficulties in providing this on a general basis. This is something that would also go for a normal camp. A normal meaning that it's not something that you want to train. In this case, the leadership skills, but it's something that's just for knowing how to do your treatment correctly, how to take your insulin and calculate your carbohydrates and so on. Well, in this case, yes, it's very important to provide this kind of solution also. In the leadership camp, you can do it, of course, like I said before, especially if there are problems in the system. You could do it as a reward for them or something like that, but it's not something that you should base the leadership camp on, like the medical aspect of diabetes. Except if there is a situation when actually needed as an intervention that might help that person to, let's say, change good the behaviors. Does it answer to your question?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, but just a remark on this. You should try it and see if it works and how it works. And then if it's not okay, if you're thinking on organizing another camp, for example, next year, then if it's okay, you don't do it anymore. If it's okay, you continue doing it. So this is the try and error exercise that we all should have, regardless the project.
Okay, so thanks a lot, Christina, for clarifying that. We have no more questions, so thanks a lot to everyone, to the YLD members for attending this webinar and for your questions. They have been very interesting, and thanks especially to Christina for sharing her expertise with us. And yeah, if you have any question, if you are listening this webinar as a recording, and you have any question for Christina, you can send it to us to advocacy@idf.org, and we will pass the question to Christina. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you also. It was a pleasure. Hope it was useful, and really looking forward to keep in touch.
Yes, definitely. We will be in touch for the future of YLD.
Awesome. Okay.
Thanks a lot. Have a lovely evening. Bye.